Hi, my name's Neil Oler, and I want to talk today about catastrophizing. So, catastrophizing is one of these cognitive mental distortions, right? Irrational fears that creep into our minds. We don't even necessarily realize it, but it's kind of hijacking our healthy, normal thought process. Catastrophizing is assuming that the worst will happen in any given situation. This was probably my, if you will, favorite cognitive distortion because I realized I do this all the time. I will put off conversations that I need to have with a boss, with a friend, with a loved one, because I'm worried that they'll just absolutely blow up at me, right? That I'll lose my job, that I'll have just the worst thing happen, and I won't even realize that I'm giving into this fear. I want to share a bit of an insight that I had while discussing with another friend of mine about catastrophizing. This friend of mine recently switched jobs where he, at his previous job, was a fine and hard worker. He had proven himself by working competently on many different projects, and the new place that he went hired him because of this competency. He's a smart dude. He was discussing how he was worried about taking some time off, discussing the situation around that and feeling like, maybe work's going to think that I'm taking too much time off, or, oh no, what if they think, oh no, this guy's a dud? What if they think they hired the wrong person and they now regret their decision? And so in talking to this, it was interesting to see how he was cognitively distorting this idea. And it came to me, if you look at any given situation and you assume three possible outcomes, there is the worst thing that can happen, there is the best thing that can happen, and then there's something in between, again, for the sake of simplicity. So as you look at this, you can see that of the three possible outcomes, there are two outcomes that are better than literally the worst thing that could possibly happen, and one that is the worst thing that could possibly happen. Now, as you start to think about any given situation in life that maybe you have been catastrophizing things, right? Assuming the worst is going to happen, you start to notice that the scale starts to grow, right? There's more than three outcomes to any given situation, I'm guessing. Statistically, provided all outcomes are the same likelihood of happening, that catastrophizing causes you to focus on one thing out of a myriad of possibilities that can happen. And you start to realize that while planning for the worst is not a bad strategy, but if you're letting it take over your mindset, if you assume the worst is going to happen every single time, you're putting a lot of mental energy into worry and stress about something that is only one outcome out of so many possible outcomes, some of which, and again, all of which are better than literally the worst thing that could happen. When I realized this and I had this conversation with my friend, I was able to talk to him and, kind of give him some insight as I kind of had this moment of giving myself insight at the same time. And I realized that catastrophizing is so easy to give into. It's so easy to assume, I can't have this conversation with a friend of mine because I'm worried that they'll just friend dump me. They'll just never want to talk to me again, even though I feel like I need to have this conversation in order to be true to my heart, to my feelings. I need to have this discussion with a loved one, with a coworker about something that needs to change, or at least I feel like I need to get off my chest, but I'm worried that just the worst thing will happen. And then as you think back to this spectrum, the scale, and go, wait a second. Yes, I suppose the worst thing could happen, but you can't place all of the emphasis on one outcome. You need to be able to look at all of them and realize that while yes, one of the outcomes is the worst thing that could ever happen, there are so many outcomes that are better. Your coworker could admire you for having the guts to diplomatically speak up about something that's bugging you. Your boss could appreciate your directness and your desire to deal with a problem head on instead of sweeping it under the rug. Your friend could appreciate that you are being true to your feelings, even if they don't necessarily love what you have to say, you still said it. I think that there are many opportunities in our lives that we catastrophize away from our realm of possibility because we won't even undertake them. we won't even begin to try because we're scared that one of the outcomes is going to be the only outcome that could possibly ever happen. This is my favorite cognitive distortion that I've realized that I do. It has been such a freeing experience to realize I do this. I've been able to have better conversations. I've been able to be more direct and, again, diplomatically so, tactfully so. I want to show love and appreciation and high quality character in every interaction, but I've been able to be direct. And I've been able to have some of these difficult conversations that I think I shied away from in the past because I was able to say, I gotta do this, and only one possible outcome is going to be the worst ever, and everything else literally is better than that. And so I'm not going to shy away from these things that before I was scared of. I want to challenge you to evaluate where in your life you may be catastrophizing things. You may be giving in to this irrational fear that the worst possible outcome is the only possible outcome. As you think about this and you think about ways that you can see other opportunities that could be possible if you were just willing to really give it a real shot. I think the trick with catastrophizing is it's almost like a safety net, because if only the worst thing ever every single time is reality, then you don't necessarily have to try as hard because, it's out of your hands. It's fate, right? It's just, the worst thing ever is always going to be the only outcome. But is it? When you're sitting down and you're thinking about it, do you really believe that? Again, 3 possible outcomes. 2 are better than the worst thing. So what's holding you back today? In what ways are you catastrophizing wonderful opportunities out of your life? And how do you need to start to think about things differently to realize that you have already done great things? As I talked to my friend about how he had already demonstrated his ability, his skill, and his value as an employee, I was able to understand where in my own life I have done that before. I assumed that I haven't grown, I haven't changed, and I'm still just going to have the worst thing happen all the time. But it's just not true. I promise you, as you try to think about these things and think about how maybe you are giving into this irrational fear, this cognitive distortion to catastrophize serious opportunities away from you, that I think you're going to see life with a more positive outlook, and you're going to be able to recognize the places that you have already proven your value and your abilities, and you can be proud of those things. You can take that going forward as opportunities to continue to demonstrate something that you've already demonstrated before. As I've talked about before on my channel, you already have done hard things, and there's more things that you can yet accomplish with those skills that you have, and you're improving every day. I'm Neoler. Stop catastrophizing things and get out there and live the best you.